Silent preparations. The first time Director Elena Reyes saw the alien ship materialize above Earth's atmosphere, she felt a strange mix of vindication and dread. As head of Earth's Unified Defense Initiative, she had spent the last 15 years convincing skeptical governments to invest in experimental weapons technology. Now, hovering silently in the void 300 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean, was proof that humanity was not alone. Thermal signatures stable. No weapons systems detected, reported Commander Jackson from the monitoring station. His voice remained professional, but Elena could hear the underlying tension. "What about the electromagnetic readings?" she asked, eyes fixed on the massive holographic display dominating the underground command center beneath the Mariana Trench. "Off the charts, Director. Their power generation capabilities must be, well, beyond anything we've developed." Elena nodded. As expected, the vessel was sleek and obviously designed for atmospheric entry, roughly 2 kilometers long with a metallic surface that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Not the massive world ship many had feared would arrive, but certainly large enough to make Earth's orbital defense platforms look like children's toys in comparison. "They're broadcasting," announced Communications Officer Paddle. "Standard radio frequencies. The translation matrix is interpreting. It appears to be a greeting." Elena straightened her uniform jacket. "Let's hear it." A melodic, vaguely musical voice filled the command center. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Concordat, a union of 17 spacefaring civilizations. We have been observing your world for some time and believe you are ready for first contact. We come in peace and cooperation." The standard diplomatic opening. Exactly what the various first contact protocols had predicted. The Lena exchanged glances with Admiral Wei, her second in command. They had rehearsed this moment for years. "Transmit our prepared response," she ordered, "and alert all Project Thunderstrike installations to maintain standby status." 3 days later, Elena stood on the ceremonial platform erected in Geneva's Palais des Nations as the alien delegation emerged from their atmospheric shuttle. The world watched through countless broadcast feeds as humanity's first official contact with extraterrestrial intelligence unfolded. The primary ambassador called himself Neville, representative of the Alvani, a species of tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that shifted between deep blues and purples. Behind him stood delegates from 5 other species of the Concordat, each more alien than the last. One appeared almost crystalline, refracting light through what seemed to be a translucent exoskeleton. Another moved on 6 limbs with unsettling grace. "Welcome to Earth," said Secretary General Mbeki, stepping forward to perform the ceremonial greeting. Neville inclined his elongated head. "We are pleased to finally meet you formally. Your species has been of interest to the Concordat for several of your centuries." The diplomat in Elena noted the careful phrasing. They'd been watching humanity for generations. The soldier in her wondered what else they'd been doing. Over the next week, a carefully choreographed series of meetings, tours, and cultural exchanges took place. The aliens were courteous but carried an unmistakable air of superiority. They spoke of welcoming Earth into the galactic community and guiding your technological development along approved pathways. "They think we're children," Elena remarked during a private meeting with Earth's Security Council in the underground facility beneath Geneva. "Gifted children, perhaps, but children nonetheless." "Can you blame them?" replied Defense Minister Rodriguez. "Their ships can cross light years. They've mastered gravity manipulation, fusion, antimatter containment, technologies we've barely theorized." Elena activated a secure holographic display showing the specifications of Earth's hidden defense network. "Perhaps, but they're making assumptions based on their own developmental path. They expect us to be following the same technological trajectory." On the display appeared the orbital schematic of Project Thunderstrike. 37 disguised platforms containing humanity's most advanced weapon systems. "Have they detected any of our installations?" asked President Chen. "No," Admiral Wei answered confidently. Their scans have been thorough but predictable. They're looking for energy signatures consistent with their own weapons technology, plasma weapons, directed energy systems, antimatter warheads. They're not looking for our approach. Elena nodded. They've abandoned kinetic weapons centuries ago. In their paradigm, why perfect the art of throwing rocks when you can harness stars? Because sometimes, Admiral Wei added with a grim smile, a well-aimed rock is exactly what you need. 2 weeks after first contact, the Concordat requested a formal assessment of Earth's technological capabilities. The delegation was led by Vorin, a military analyst from one of the Concordat's founding species, the Theron. His body was covered in fine scales that seemed to shift between green and gold, and his 4 eyes scanned everything with analytical precision. Elena had been assigned as his primary Earth escort, a position that allowed her to control exactly what the aliens would see. This facility represents our most advanced defense research, she explained as they toured a carefully prepared installation outside New Delhi. The laboratory contained impressive-looking prototypes of technologies that had been deliberately designed to appear cutting-edge without revealing Earth's true capabilities. Vorin examined a plasma containment prototype with what Elena could only interpret as amusement. An interesting approach, he commented. Though the ionization matrix you're using is inherently unstable, most developing civilizations struggle with this phase. We're still learning, Elena replied with manufactured humility. Your species' fascination with projectile weapons is particularly quaint, Vorin remarked later as they observed a demonstration of conventional artillery. Most civilizations abandon kinetic approaches once they discover the efficiency of directed energy. Tradition runs deep in our military history, Elena responded, and ammunition is still more reliable in certain environments. The Theron made a clicking sound that their translator didn't convert, a common developmental hurdle. The Concordat can assist with more advanced defensive systems for appropriate technological exchange, of course. And there it was, the real purpose behind the Concordat's peaceful arrival. They wanted Earth's resources, rare minerals, biological materials, and whatever else they deemed valuable. In exchange, they would offer appropriate technologies that would make Earth dependent on Concordat systems. The pattern had become clear through diplomatic channels. On other worlds, the Concordat established partnership agreements that inevitably led to resource extraction operations, heavily favoring the advanced civilizations. Not conquest through force, but through economic and technological dependence. That evening, Elena met with her team in a secure room deep beneath the Himalayas, one of several command centers connected to Project Thunderstrike. Vorin's assessment report has been transmitted to their vessel, reported Intelligence Officer Nakamura. Our monitoring systems intercepted the communication. And? Elena asked. Nakamura smiled. They've classified Earth as a Category 3 pre-integration civilization. According to their metrics, we're at least 70 years from developing any technology they would consider concerning. Admiral Wei looked pleased. Then our deception is working perfectly. Show me the status of the network, Elena ordered. The holographic display shifted to show Earth surrounded by a web of disguised platforms, some appearing as weather satellites, others as communications arrays or research stations. Each contained multiple electromagnetic mass drivers, railguns capable of accelerating projectiles to speeds that the Concordat believed impossible with primitive human technology. Final calibrations are complete on all 37 platforms, Wei reported. The targeting systems have been updated to account for the Concordat vessel's defensive capabilities based on our scans. Elena studied the display and the special munitions, ready for deployment. The tungsten carbide penetrators with the carbon nanotube reinforcement have been loaded. Each is equipped with the quantum-locked targeting system. What the Concordat couldn't understand given their technological evolution, was that humans had taken a different path. While alien civilizations had abandoned kinetic weapons for the elegance of energy-based systems, humanity had perfected the art of kinetic bombardment to an extent the aliens considered theoretically impossible. Project Thunderstrike wasn't just a weapon. It was a statement that humanity would not become another resource colony. The electromagnetic accelerators could launch specially designed projectiles at velocities approaching 0.1% of light speed, far beyond what the Concordat believed possible with primitive technology. "We should hope we never need to use it," Elena said quietly. "But we'll be ready if we do," Wei finished. As Elena looked at the display, she couldn't help but wonder if humanity was making a mistake. The Concordat possessed technologies beyond Earth's comprehension. If it came to conflict, would humanity's unconventional approach be enough? Or was Earth preparing to throw rocks at gods? She pushed the doubt aside. The railgun network wasn't meant to start a war. It was designed to prevent one by ensuring that any aggression against Earth would come at too high a price. Deterrence through unexpected capability. "The Concordat delegation has requested a tour of our lunar research facility tomorrow," she said, changing the subject. "We'll show them exactly what they expect to see: early colonization efforts, basic fusion research, nothing that would concern them." "And what about the far side installation?" asked Wei. Elena's expression hardened. "That remains completely dark. As far as the Concordat knows, we're still decades away from establishing anything significant beyond Earth orbit. The far side of the moon housed Project Thunderstrike's command and control center, the one place from which humanity could coordinate its defense without fear of detection. While the Concordat vessel maintained position above Earth, it couldn't monitor activities on the lunar far side." "Have we learned anything useful from their technology?" Intelligence Officer Nakamura asked. "Our passive scans have revealed some of their propulsion mechanics," Wei replied. "Their approach to gravity manipulation might be applicable to our own research. But more importantly, we've confirmed vulnerabilities in their defensive systems." Elena nodded. "They rely almost exclusively on energy shields designed to deflect or absorb directed energy weapons. Their hulls are reinforced against conventional explosives and low-velocity impacts, but they have minimal protection against the kind of hypervelocity kinetic weapons we've developed. Because no rational species would continue developing such primitive weapons when energy-based alternatives exist," Wei added with a slight smile. "Their arrogance is our advantage," Elena concluded. "Let's hope we never have to prove it." As the meeting concluded, Elena remained behind, studying the global defense network displayed before her. Humanity stood at a crossroads, reaching for the stars while preparing for the worst. The Concordat might have crossed light years with their advanced technology, but they had brought with them the oldest story in the universe: the strong seeking to exploit the weak. Only this time, the supposedly weak had a surprise waiting. Humanity had not risen from Earth's harsh cradle by following expected paths. Adaptation, innovation, and the willingness to pursue unconventional solutions had defined human progress. The Concordat was about to learn that lesson, one way or another. The revelation. 3 months after first contact, the relationship between Earth and the Galactic Concordat had settled into an uneasy rhythm. The alien delegation maintained a continuous presence, establishing embassies in major cities, while their massive vessel remained in high orbit. Trade negotiations had begun, cultural exchanges were underway, and the first group of human scientists had been invited to visit a Concordat outpost in the Alpha Centauri system. On the surface, humanity was embracing its new role in the galactic community with appropriate wonder and gratitude. Beneath that carefully constructed facade, Project Thunderstrike remained on constant alert, its network of disguised platforms maintaining silent vigilance. Director Elena Reyes was reviewing the latest intelligence reports in her office beneath Geneva when Admiral Wei arrived unannounced, his face grim. "We have a situation," he said without preamble. "The quantum communications array just picked up a transmission from our observers in the Kuiper Belt." Elena felt her stomach tighten. The deep space monitoring stations were supposed to maintain complete communications silence unless... "How many?" she asked. Wei handed her a secure tablet. 7 vessels, significantly larger than the diplomatic craft in orbit. They're decelerating at the edge of the system, but maintaining a direct approach vector to Earth. The tablet displayed the sensor readings, massive energy signatures consistent with warships, not the peaceful diplomatic vessel currently orbiting above them. Have they made contact with the Concordat delegation? Yes. Encrypted transmissions began approximately 6 hours ago. We've been unable to decrypt them, but the timing can't be coincidence. Elena thought quickly. Where is Ambassador Neville now? At the United Nations complex. He requested an emergency session with the Secretary General 30 minutes ago. And our assets. Thunderstrike is at full operational readiness. The Lunar Command Center is fully staffed and autonomous. Elena nodded. I'll leave for the UN immediately. Maintain Strike Protocol Alpha, but no preemptive actions. Let's see what the Concordat has to say for itself. The atmosphere in the Security Council chamber was tense when Elena arrived. Ambassador Neville stood before Earth's assembled leadership. His iridescent skin shifted rapidly between deep purples and blues, a sign of agitation they had learned to recognize. A difficult but necessary adjustment to our arrangement, the alien was saying. The Concordat Protectorate vessels are arriving to ensure a smooth transition. Protectorate. Secretary General Mbiki's voice was carefully controlled. That term wasn't mentioned in our previous discussions, Ambassador. We've been negotiating as sovereign equals. Neville's upper limbs made a flowing gesture that their cultural specialists had identified as indicating regret without actual apology. A temporary classification adjustment only. The Concordat has identified certain concerning elements within your military structure that suggest Earth requires more direct guidance than initially assessed. Elena felt cold dread settle in her stomach as she took her seat. They knew something, not everything, surely, or the Protectorate vessels would have opened fire already, but enough to change their approach. May I ask what these concerning elements are? President Chen asked from her position at the table. The alien ambassador's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture they'd come to recognize as discomfort. Your species has a concerning predisposition towards violence that is reflected in your technological development priorities. The Concordat Oversight Council has reviewed our initial assessment and determined that a more direct integration approach is warranted. Military analyst Vorin stepped forward, his scaled skin glinting under the chamber lights. We have detected unusual power fluctuations from several of your orbital platforms. Further investigation suggests you have been attempting to develop primitive weapon systems in orbit, contrary to our technological guidance. Elena maintained a neutral expression while internally cursing. The platforms had been detected, though apparently not fully understood. We have sovereignty over our orbital space, Defense Minister Rodriguez stated firmly. Earth has made no commitments limiting our defensive capabilities. Perhaps we've been unclear, Neville replied, his tone hardening. The Concordat does not permit developing civilizations to deploy weapons in space before proper integration. The 7 Protectorate vessels arriving will oversee the immediate dismantling of these platforms and establish a security perimeter around your planet. The room erupted in outrage as Earth's leaders processed the implications. This wasn't an alliance of equals but an annexation. And if we refuse this protection? President Chen asked quietly when the commotion subsided. Vorin answered, his multiple eyes unblinking. That would be most unfortunate. The Concordat has found that species at your development stage often lack the perspective to understand what is best for their long-term survival. Resistance typically necessitates limited orbital strikes to disable military capabilities. Elena caught Admiral Wei's eye across the chamber. He gave an almost imperceptible nod. The Thunderstrike network was ready. How long do we have to consider this adjustment? Secretary General Mbeki asked, stalling for time. The Protectorate fleet will establish orbit within 6 of your hours, Neville replied. At that time, we will expect your formal acceptance of Concordat guidance. As the meeting adjourned, Elena slipped away to a secure communications room beneath the complex. Within minutes, she had established quantum-encrypted contact with the Lunar Command Center. They know about the platforms, but not their true purpose, she reported to the command team. They believe we're deploying conventional weapons. Arrogance, commented Admiral Wei from his position on the lunar base. They can't conceive that we develop something beyond their technological expectations. The trap has a fatal flaw if the prey doesn't take the bait, Elena countered. We need them to make the first hostile move, or we risk becoming the aggressors against a 17-planet alliance. Wei's expression was grim on the secure feed. Based on their declaration, that seems inevitable. Their limited orbital strikes would target our conventional military capabilities first, giving us justification. Elena made her decision. Implement Operation Thunderclap. Full network activation, but weapons remain safe until my direct authorization or confirmed hostile action against Earth. 4 hours later, long-range sensors detected the Concordat warships decelerating as they approached Earth orbit. 7 massive vessels, each at least 5 times larger than the diplomatic craft, arranged themselves in attack formation. Elena stood in the Unified Defense Command Center beneath Geneva, watching as humanity's leadership gathered for what might be their final hours of true independence. Concordat vessels are broadcasting, announced Communications Officer Patel. They're ordering all Earth governments to stand down military forces and prepare for protectorate occupation. No response, Elena ordered. Maintain communications silence. The massive primary display showed the positions of the Concordat ships as they established a geosynchronous formation above Earth's major power centers: North America, Europe, East Asia, Russia, India, South America, and Oceania. The diplomatic vessel had repositioned itself over Africa. They're deploying smaller craft, reported Tactical Officer Raman. Appears to be a standard containment pattern. Elena watched silently. The Concordat's approach was textbook. Establish orbital dominance, deploy interceptors to prevent any surface-to-orbit response, then demand surrender before demonstrating overwhelming firepower. Admiral Wei's voice came through on the secure channel from the lunar facility. Director, they've begun targeted electronic warfare operations against our communications networks. Let them think it's working, Elena replied. Simulate degradation of our systems. On the tactical display, the Concordat vessels began deploying what appeared to be weapons platforms, small autonomous systems designed to target strategic points on Earth's surface. They're scanning our orbital assets, Raman announced, focusing on our satellite network. How long until they detect the Thunderstrike platforms? Elena asked. Their current scan patterns suggest approximately 20 minutes before they identify the first platform's true nature. Elena nodded. Initiate defensive protocols. Prepare for possible orbital engagement. On the screens, the Concordat ships continued their methodical deployment. One of the smaller vessels approached the International Space Station, enveloping it in some kind of containment field. They're taking our astronauts hostage, President Chen observed quietly. Before Elena could respond, Communications Officer Patel straightened suddenly. Priority transmission from the Concordat command vessel, directed to all Earth governments. On screen, Elena ordered. A new alien appeared, not naval or Vorin, but a being with crystalline features and multiple sensory appendages. The translator identified him as High Commander Thelox of the Concordat Protectorate Fleet. People of Earth, the alien began without preamble. Your orbital weapons platforms have been detected and will be neutralized. This constitutes a violation of Concordat integration protocols. As a consequence, we will now demonstrate the futility of resistance. The transmission ended abruptly. Energy buildup detected in the primary vessel, shouted Raman. They're targeting. Elena didn't wait to hear the target. Thunderstrike protocols authorized. Unmask all platforms and engage defensive measures. Across the command center, officers relayed the authentication codes that would activate humanity's hidden defense network. On the tactical display, 37 innocuous satellites suddenly revealed their true nature, each unfolding into a sophisticated weapons platform centered around multiple electromagnetic mass drivers. Above Moscow, The lead Concordat vessel fired, a brilliant beam of energy that lanced toward Earth's surface. Before it could strike, something unexpected happened. The beam diffused, spreading harmlessly into the upper atmosphere. Gravitational deflection successful, reported Raman with barely controlled excitement. The shield network is functioning. Another unexpected development in humanity's defensive preparations, a network of gravity manipulation devices based on reverse-engineered Concordat technology, designed specifically to deflect energy weapons. High Commander Philox's voice boomed through the communications system again, this time with obvious anger. These defensive measures are unexpected but futile. Your primitive technology cannot. Admiral Wei cut the transmission. I think we've heard enough. Director Reyes, the network awaits your command. Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had prepared for, the moment when they would demonstrate that the path of technological development, the Concordat considered primitive, had instead been refined to lethal perfection. Thunderstrike Alpha authorized, she said clearly. Target weapon systems only. Demonstrate capability without destruction. Across Earth orbit, the hidden platforms oriented their electromagnetic mass drivers toward the Concordat vessels. Each contained specially designed projectiles, tungsten carbide rods reinforced with carbon nanotube matrices and equipped with quantum guidance systems. Not explosive warheads or energy weapons, but simple kinetic penetrators accelerated to velocities the Concordat believed theoretically impossible with human technology. All platforms report weapons lock, Wei announced from the Lunar Command Center. Firing solution computed. Elena nodded. Fire. 37 platforms activated simultaneously, their electromagnetic accelerators launching projectiles at a fraction of light speed. From the Concordat vessel's perspective, there was virtually no warning. The hypervelocity projectiles crossed the intervening space in seconds. The tactical display showed the results immediately. Each projectile struck with pinpoint precision, penetrating the Concordat vessel's energy shields as if they didn't exist. The shields had been designed to deflect or absorb energy weapons, not solid objects moving at relativistic speeds. The projectiles didn't target critical systems or power cores, just weapons emplacements and propulsion arrays. The message was clear. We could have destroyed you, but chose not to. Alarms blared across the Concordat fleet as secondary explosions rippled across their hulls. Their shields flickered and stabilized. But too late, the damage was done. All targets neutralized, Admiral Wei reported with professional calm. Concordat vessels have lost weapons capabilities and maneuverability. Their life support and power systems remain intact. Elena nodded. Open a channel to High Commander Thelox. When the alien commander's image appeared on screen, his crystalline features seemed somehow less imposing. Behind him, emergency systems flashed as crew members rushed to contain the damage. This is Director Elena Reyes of Earth's Unified Defense Initiative, she began, her voice steady. As you've just witnessed, your assessment of our technological capabilities was fundamentally flawed. Your vessels have been disabled but not destroyed, a courtesy I suggest you appreciate. The alien commander's voice translator conveyed shock and disbelief. Impossible. Your species cannot possess such weapons. Kinetic systems cannot penetrate our shields. And yet they did. Elena replied simply. Perhaps the Concordat should reconsider its approach to primitive technologies. After a moment of silence, Thelox spoke again. What are your terms? Immediate withdrawal of all Concordat forces from Earth orbit. The diplomatic vessel may remain if its intentions are truly peaceful. Earth will consider relations with the Concordat as equals, not as a protectorate, not as a resource colony, but as a sovereign civilization capable of defending itself. Ambassador Neville had joined the transmission, his iridescent skin now a pale blue. The Concordat has never encountered a species that developed along your technological path. Our assessments were incomplete. A diplomatic way of saying you underestimated us, Elena observed. a common mistake when encountering something unfamiliar. The Concordat Council will need to reconsider Earth's classification, Neville continued. This development changes many assumptions. I suggest you begin that reconsideration immediately, Elena replied. Our platforms remain targeted on your vessels. They can be repaired or reduced to debris. The choice is yours. 1 month later, Elena stood on the observation deck of Thunderstrike Command, looking out at the lunar landscape. Behind her, Admiral Wei studied the latest intelligence reports. The Concordat Council has officially reclassified Earth as a non-standard technological civilization, he informed her. Apparently, we're the first species they've encountered that perfected kinetic weapons to this degree instead of abandoning them for energy-based systems. Elena smiled slightly. Sometimes the old ways have merit, especially when everyone else has forgotten them. They're requesting a technology exchange, Wei continued, particularly interested in our electromagnetic acceleration techniques, and offering faster-than-light communication systems and certain gravitational manipulation technologies we haven't yet reverse-engineered. Elena nodded thoughtfully. A fair exchange between equals. Begin the arrangements. As Wei left, Elena continued gazing at the stark lunar landscape. Humanity had narrowly avoided becoming just another resource colony in the Concordat's expanding sphere of influence. Instead, they had earned respect through unexpected strength. The Railden network, technology the Concordat had dismissed as primitive, had proven that humanity's unconventional path had value. Sometimes, innovation meant looking backward before leaping forward. While the Concordat had been perfecting energy weapons for millennia, they had forgotten the simple effectiveness of a well-aimed rock. In the darkness of space, Earth's newly recognized status was secured not by matching the Concordat's technology, but by perfecting what they had dismissed. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by following the expected path, but by reminding the galaxy that sometimes the oldest solutions could still surprise. And that, Elena reflected, was perhaps humanity's greatest strength. The ability to find power in the unexpected, to turn limitation into advantage, and to remind the universe that progress didn't always mean abandoning the past. The stars would never look quite the same again, to humans or to the Concordat, and that was exactly as it should be.